Hi, my name is Demelza. I'm a PhD student in the Department of Physics in the University of Cambridge. And what I am working on at the moment is a way to turn carbon dioxide back into fuel, which would be really great. So what I'm really working on is there's a type of material, a molecule called a catalyst. What that catalyst can do is take carbon dioxide and break the bonds and turn it into carbon monoxide, which is a really great fuel. Now, that's a fantastic reaction, and there are lots of really good ways to make things back into fuel, but we don't exactly know how to make them suitable for industry. So they work, but maybe only for a few hours at a time. They potentially work, but not as well as the things that are being used at the moment. So what I do is I measure them using all of this kit, using light where I shine lasers in and all of the light scatters away, giving me different colours, and that tells me which type of products that it's broken down into. That can give us a little bit of an idea about what's gone wrong or what's gone right, and I can feed that back to the chemists, and they can use that information to make the catalyst better the next time around, so we can give it another go and hopefully make them usable for the industry in the future. I started reading things like New Scientist magazine and websites like news websites where they talk about different science things that were going on. And I just thought it was so cool because these scientists, they weren't just kind of measuring the speed of light to another decimal point. They were actually looking at the world around them and they were going, you know what, it would be really great if we could do that. And they were doing it. Like, they were actually changing the world around them. And so that was why I thought, you know what, science is actually really cool. I can make the future better by just being part of it and learning and studying and things like that. You can kind of lean on whichever skills are good for you. So there's a lot of stuff that you learn in and out of school which can help you on your scientific journey. Practical skills can be and are incredibly important in science. The reason I say that is it may not be incredibly obvious when you immediately learn something. And I assure you, something else will pop up and you'll go, actually, I learned that before. I've done something like this before. When I'm using the equipment in the lab, little things like how I've learned to use a computer or different programming softwares, things like that. Behind you, I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot of scripting here. This is Python. Now, I didn't quite learn that at school because I'm a little older, but I know that people right now are actually learning scripting skills in school. Now, if you're not learning it in school, it's actually handy to learn it outside of school. There's loads and loads of things that are available to help you with that. But all of these bits of scripting here control all of what you see here. So we don't really get to do an experiment without it. Now that's just my lab, you don't have to do scripting to do science, but it's something that has turned up, you may not have even considered it, but every single day when I come and do an experiment, it comes in incredibly handy. Math skills. Math skills are something I hear quite a lot, I'll never use this again, which is entirely untrue, and the reason for that is actually it kind of crops up in lots of different ways. Now, one of the second parts of the scientific ecosystem that I was talking about, having a problem and solving it, the next part is you have to go, okay, well, what do I do with this data that I've got now? What I will do, and what I find incredibly useful, is I will take that data and I'll plot it up. Now, this plotting up draws on two big branches of skills. The first one is the mathematics skill. I have to look at it and think, this shape, this looks a little bit like x squared. What physical process follows this x squared route? And that can help lead to okay, well this is reacting with that because that follows x squared. It is very, very immediately transferable to science, just being able to look at a graph and say, this is following that kind of curve. Now the next big skill set that it follows is actually communication, because now I've plotted my graph, I've said, look, this perfectly follows x squared, that means that it's following this reaction pathway. I've got to tell my boss, and I've also got to tell my collaborators who I'm working with. Communicating with my colleagues which problems I've got, working together with them on an experiment or on a project, and then taking those results and presenting them in like a manageable way to my boss or to some people in a different department who work in a different way. So it's this whole ecosystem where everyone's helping everyone else out, essentially, and being able to communicate and being able to collaborate with them is incredibly helpful.